Alright, well, Assassin's Creed Shadows is not looking good, but before we get into that, let's talk about Star Wars Outlaws for a minute. Star Wars Outlaws, a game which is coming out at the end of August, so before the November release date of Assassin's Creed Shadows, is another, I would say, quadruple A game that Ubisoft, claims that it is, that has an overpriced price tag on it. You can pay up to $130 for this game. Then, of course, there is the paywalled missions and all that crap that comes with it, where you can't even play the entire game for $130, unless that does include DLC. But either way, $70 for a game that you have to pay for additional content right off the bat. Absolutely mind-blowingly stupid. And of course, they just had a gameplay trailer came out yesterday, and it is already getting ratioed all to hell. 8.5 thousand likes to 15,000 dislikes. The trailer itself looks really bad. It starts off with like a thermal detonator at the girl's feet. She somehow survives, get flung through the air. It just looks bad, okay? Not to mention, apparently the entire game has like 5 total worlds, and 3 of them you can cross on a speeder bike in about 10 minutes. That seems like a very, very limited amount of space to explore. But that being said, Ubisoft has had a lot of issues, and it doesn't seem like those are going to go away anytime soon, especially after the Skull and Bones fiasco, where that game is essentially dead at this point. Now we got to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows again, because there's been a lot of issues with this game, both with their historical inaccuracies and disrespect for the Japanese culture, as well as the fact that they just flat out are ignoring the criticism from gamers saying, why didn't you give us a Japanese samurai in a Japanese setting for an Assassin's Creed game? This is all we wanted. Give us an actual samurai. Don't give us your interpretation of a samurai and try to pass it off as a historical figure when it's come out that essentially Thomas Lockley, the author of the book about the African samurai, has been very sketchy, we'll say, with how he cites his sources, editing his own sources, writing the Encyclopedia Britannica article about this character, editing Wikipedia articles to support his book, and then getting brought on by Ubisoft to actually consult about the historical side of this character, while he himself has been proven to make up quite a bit of it. So now we have this YouTuber claiming that apparently the LGBT romance options for Yasuke and Naui, Yasuke, I believe the correct pronunciation is. People have been roasting me in the comments about not pronouncing Yasuke appropriately, so we're going to try to fix it from this point on. So in this YouTube video, Jor Raptor, who was the content creator, added that romance is back, and it seems like they're going to work a bit different this time. For one, just like in Odyssey and Valhalla, we can still choose to pursue romantic relationships or not, but because there are 2 completely different playable characters, they will now have both their own unique romances. While in Odyssey, for example, both Alexios and Cassandra had the exact same options. He continued there will be still be same-sex romance options for both characters, just like the previous RPGs, but it seems that the overall focus is a lot more on platonic relationships, so without the romantic features. Now, I kind of feel like we're going off into the weeds with this romance talk. I mean, let's be honest. Yes, a lot of the cutscenes and story of the Assassin's Creed games have been a big part of the game itself. A lot of action, a lot of stealth, a lot of, assassinations and combat. And of course, filled in with really good characters and storyline and historical, details. But this seems like so many of these games that we've seen with the progressive mindset, whether it's the completely cringe LGBT dating simulators that we've seen from some of these Sweet Baby Inc. associated companies, or even like Baldur's Gate 3, which focused heavily on the sexual encounters you can have with all sorts and manners of weird, freaky creatures. I just feel like there's so much focus being put on these parts of these games, especially given the fact that they're heavily pushing the LGBT agenda in these kind of games. And if you want to know why I say that, well, look no further than the fact that, first of all, Ubisoft has had a long history of working with Kim Belair over at Sweet Baby Inc. She used to work there before she became a game consultant for some of their games. Then you have the fact that they hired an LGBTQ activist as a consultant who wanted to challenge moral standards around transgenerational sex. And this woman here, Sashi Schmidt-Hori, is consulting on Assassin's Creed Shadows, whereas one of her claims to fame is this book here, Tales of Idolized Boys, Male-Male Love in Medieval Japanese Buddhist Narratives. And of course, in her own biography for Dartmouth, you see here, this is her own words saying, I am interested in literary and pictorial representations of gender, sexuality, and class in pre-17th century Japanese narratives, as well as analyzing the modern meta-narratives thereof. My first book, Tale of Idolized Boys, which often depict romantic relationships between Buddhist priests and adolescent boys. These tales challenge a host of normative and moral standards we, academics, non-academics, the far right, the far left, and beyond, internalize, including such ideas as sexual orientation, transgenerational sex, and sexual agency. So basically, this woman, her entire focus is on who's having sex with what, no matter what the age is, gender is, animal, human, bestiality, whatever. Her entire focus in her being brought onto this game is to push this heavy transgenerational LGBT aspect of the game. Now, this has led to a lot of backlash with the gamers both in Japan and the West. This Japanese petition here has reached over 90,000 signatures already, closing on 91,000 as we speak. And the funny thing about this is, a lot of this has been pushed by the fact that the Japanese are tired of their own history being disrespected, about their own culture being not treated, appropriately, and about different narratives being put on them that they themselves do not agree with. This is a shocking contrast to what we're seeing going on right now with Genshin Impact, a game that I have no interest in playing, but it's a very popular game. There is currently another Change.org petition about Genshin Impact claiming that the game is racist because of the fact that it features primarily white characters. Now, the difference I would like to point out between Genshin Impact and the Assassin's Creed Shadows controversy is the fact that Genshin Impact, while it borrows from other cultures and does more of the cultural appreciation than the appropriation, it's set in a completely fictional world. Okay, we have to realize that. The biggest piece of this Assassin's Creed Shadow controversy is that this is supposed to be set in a historical setting in Japan with characters who truly existed and lived, and they can't even get the most basic details right. Whereas Genshin Impact is a game that is designed to put you into a completely fantasy fictional setting, and nothing is supposed to be based on actual history. And of course, you'll see the hypocrisy on display, as pointed out by Learning the Law here on Twitter, saying that Genshin Impact, and these are two different article titles from The Gamer, Genshin Impact petition to stop cultural appropriation reaches 75,000 signatures, obviously putting it in a very non-biased, positive light. Then you have this article that was written by a guest journalist, I believe he was a comedian, saying, "Hi, I'm an idiot who's mad about everything in video games except the layoffs." Okay, this is how they treat people who have a difference of opinion. Now, again, these companies like Genshin Impact, like Black Myth Wukong, these companies who have been alleged to reject the DEI consulting firms and the Sweet Baby Inks of the world and refuse to work with them, have been labeled as bigots, racists, as, not being inclusive enough, as being sexist and misogynist. I mean, again, Wukong was allegedly being extorted by Sweet Baby Inc. to the tune of $7 million. It's very likely that something similar could be going on with Genshin Impact as well. When you look at the petition itself, it very much seems like a situation where they are trying to create a controversy out of thin air. Then, of course, we have people like this, David Jaff over at Fandom Wire. Article from Fandom Wire with David Jaff, who is the creator of God of War, telling people that it's just a boogeyman, that if you believe any of these companies like Sweet Baby Inc. are trying to extort people, you're crazy. But of course, David Jaff himself is kind of a lunatic, recently claiming that the attempt on Trump's life was staged. So again, not the most credible people. And don't forget that going back to Ubisoft, their own CEO denounced all of this backlash against this game as racist and malicious. Racist. So if you're a Japanese person expecting a Japanese game with historical characters being treated respectfully by a Western studio, and again being designed for an entire global audience, but it's supposed to feature Japanese history, lore, everything, done in a respectful manner, you're a racist if you expect them to do that correctly. So this is the hypocrisy of the current modern game development, studios that we see day in and day out, that if you're ever expecting them to be respectful to people or to treat you appropriately as the consumer, as the gamer, as the person who lives in the country in which the game is supposed to be set, don't expect them to treat you with any sort of respect or care at all, because they do not care about you. They care about their ESG score, they care about their modern audience that doesn't exist, but for some weird reason, they think that, pandering to these people on Twitter is going to somehow make them more financially successful. But anyways, I'm going to leave it right there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this. Make sure you check out the website, minimaleffort.shop. Live stream tomorrow night, probably playing some more First Descendant, and I will catch you guys later. Alright guys, major news. I am super excited to announce that Minimal Effort is partnering up with Meta PCs to bring you the absolute best custom-built and ready-to-ship PCs on the market. Meta PCs is owned and operated right here in the US, and they have an incredible staff working behind the scenes to make sure that your PC is built exactly to your specifications. Every PC is built with top-of-the-line components and then stress-tested to make sure that it's ready to plug in and go right out of the box. Whether you're a competitive gamer that needs a top-of-the-line rig, or if you're just looking for a reliable PC for your home office, you simply cannot go wrong with Meta PCs. They have top-notch US-based tech support that can answer any questions you may have. So, go get started on finally owning that PC you've always dreamt about. And when you're ready to make that dream a reality, make sure to use my link down below and enter code TIVO at checkout for a special discount. Huge thank you to the whole team at Meta PCs for this amazing opportunity, and thank you all for the support.